Rich, the burning question is, did you manage to get some petrol this week?
Well, beat me to punch. Yeah, true story. I came into training needing some at 6:30 in the morning, and then went into one garage, no petrol, went into another. I had no idea what was going on. I don't watch too much TV. I thought that's a strange coincidence till I came out of training in the afternoon, and Morrison's across the road had a 3-mile queue going in there. So no, I did manage to get some, thankfully. So I'm all good, mate. I can make it over to St Helens tomorrow night.
Which is good news. Have any of the boys actually run out?
Don't think so. Very frugal, so they're probably all car sharing at this moment in time, my boys. Reece Martin's got an electric scooter, so he's definitely all right. But no, I'm not sure, mate. I ain't heard any major issues with it.
Well, that's all good. Onto the proper news. Obviously, you've named an unchanged 21. What about the 17? Are you pondering any changes within that?
Yeah, possibly. Not many at all. But possibly, mate. Yeah, we've had one or two selection dilemmas, but we'll see tomorrow night, James. Yeah, we have considered the odd little tweak, which is probably, a good position to be in at this stage of the year. Really confident in pretty much every guy we've got in that 21. Look at the opposition, look at how we need to work through his bench rotation and see what's best for us. But we have considered it.
I was going to say, when you're looking at those possible changes, is that dependent on the opposition, effectively?
Yeah, a little bit. We had a good performance across the board. Too many people don't seem to think so, but we were quite happy with our performance last week. But yeah, obviously playing different opposition that they've got some different threats this week, and different in the way that we've probably got to break them down a little bit. So yeah, we've taken that into consideration. But yeah, obviously, James, I'm not gonna be giving his team out today.
Do you feel like you've got the tougher semi-final?
Oh, look, I think both teams that finish 1 and 2, based on what they've done through the league season, quite rightly, have got the home semis. And I think for different reasons, both ties are difficult. Well, I think Saints, they won the comp twice on the trot. They're the current Challenge Cup holders. They're conceding on average 11.5 points a game. It's a tough tie. You throw in a shorter turnaround and obviously the travel going over to France. But I think if we're looking over the last couple of seasons, the experience of big games and how to win semis, Saints have been, clearly the standout team. But both fixtures, as you would expect at this point in the season, James, bring their own challenges and both difficult ones. But yeah, I think Saints Saints away is a tough tie, but we're in the semi-final to get to a grand final. You wouldn't expect anything else really. So I think whichever way it fell, we're expecting it. I think I had a little Freudian slip myself on about the crowd travelling to Perpignan last week in numbers. I think there was some irony in that, James, knowing that it would be very, very difficult to get our fans there. So, that's a positive too, mate, that we'll have a sizable travelling away support for the game, which would be different had we been playing in Perpignan this week. So I think that's a real positive for us.
On the pitch, what's going to be key on Friday then?
Well, look, they've lost 4 games this year, I think. They lost 1 to Salford when they rested everyone. They lost 1 to Catalan at Magic when they conceded 18 points in the last 5 minutes. So I don't think that's anything you can particularly script into a game plan. They lost to Castleford and Warrington in low-scoring encounters. Now, we had a low-scoring encounter again, a good defensive team last week. We're playing a team, what I've already said, is very miserly and has conceded on average 11.5 points a game. I think that tells you that our defence has got to be bang on this week. Again, they make you work very, very hard for your points, and scoring chances in a game like this probably will and certainly should be hard to come by. So without wanting to be too repetitive after last week, I think defensively, we've got to be as good as we possibly can this week. Make sure our kick chase is as good as it's been all year. and get ready for a really tough physical battle. Now, the key against Saints, I think, is, their opening 20 minutes is 25 minutes is usually very good. I think meeting fire with fire in those opening periods is, it's going to be really important for us to make sure that start we're as good as we possibly can be.
To that end, have there been specific conversations about dealing better with Alex Walmsley?
Well, if you're going off the game that we played 3 weeks ago, I'm not sure that that's a valid comparison for us, James. If you look at the team that's going to take the field the other night, I think there's a couple of things out of that. Is we got some, real first up close hand lessons from that about how Saints start the game and were they really strong? Not that we didn't know anyway. But I think for us, I'm actually going to say as a coach, I'm disregarding plenty of our performance on that night. I think we're coming into the game with a little bit more momentum, and we're coming into it with some highly experienced quality players that are going to start the game for us in the middle of the field. We had a fair amount of inexperience in this team that night, which it's going to be different on Friday. So we need to do a bigger job on Big Al. I think that goes without saying, doesn't it? But he's a good player. He's a good player. I think he's got a great story, and I think he's turned into a wonderful role model. If I'm quite honest, I think when you see him interviewed after games, he's very considered, very level-headed, has a lot of humility, but he's a terrific player. He's a world-class player, and you only need to look at the numbers and their performance to see. See how important it is for them. But at the same time, I don't think it's a case of cutting the head off the snake and deal with Al and you stop Saints. I think, I think Tommy Makinson and Percival at both ends of the field do a great job for him, and Johnny Lomax and Lachlan Coote are very experienced pivots and ball players. That are exceptionally good at. Asking questions of your defence and really testing you. So, we know the threats. I think we all know the threats. Knowing them and stopping them is two different things. But we know the levels that we're going to have to play for them opening 25 minutes, and we know the levels we're going to have to get to for 80 minutes for us to be in the contest in the late stages. But we're confident we can get to those too.
Just lastly for me, Rich, given what you've been through this year, what would it mean to the group to get to that grand final?
I think motivation this week is not a factor, James. We've got guys like Pryor and Tetevano that have played in NRL grand finals on more than one occasion. We've got young players that got a taste of it last year a little bit in the Challenge Cup. We're fresh. A lot of our players have played 11 games, 12 games, 14 games, 15 games this year. So usually after 27 rounds, I know there's not been that many this year. Usually you get to this stage of the year for grand finals and training's minimal. Sometimes you're patching people up and you're clinging on a little bit when it gets to this performance. I think semi-finals are generally always really high intensity games. But while we've had some patchiness about this year, we do feel that we've still got a lot of running in his legs yet and a lot of freshness about the squad. So motivation is not an issue, and I think everybody, whether they've played in them before or not, always wants to make a grand final. And, we're no different. So I'd say motivation is not the issue. Freshness is definitely not an issue. Quality opposition is the challenge.